This isn't your average sports talk. This is beyond the box score, where every stat tells a story, every play has a purpose, and every game is part of something much bigger. If you're tired of surface-level commentary and want deep dives, bold predictions, betting breakdowns, and hard-hitting analysis that actually makes you smarter, you're in the right place. We're not just talking scores, we're breaking the game down from the inside out. Whether it's clutch playoff moments, MVP-caliber performances, or the hidden strategies that decide championships, this is where the real fans come to watch smarter. We're diving into the Braves vs. Marlins matchup set for Friday, August 9th. First pitch from Loandapak Park is scheduled, and we're getting a divisional showdown between two teams trending in opposite directions. The Braves are coming off a dominant series win and continue to look like one of the few clubs in the National League that can win in multiple ways. Meanwhile, the Marlins are in freefall and struggling on both sides of the ball. Atlanta opened as road favorites on the moneyline, and the number is ticking further in their direction, showing early sharp action backing the Braves. Let's start with pitching. The Braves are sending out right-hander Bryce Elder, who's had a bounce-back season and continues to be a reliable back-end starter. He's sitting at 7-5 with a 3.89 ERA, but that doesn't tell the full story. His road ERA is actually better than his home splits, sitting at 3.44 with a 1.18 whip over 48 innings away from Truist Park. He's also holding opposing hitters to 8.218 average on the road, which bodes well in a pitcher-friendly park like Miami. On the other side, the Marlins will counter with southpaw Trevor Rogers, who has been wildly inconsistent this season. His ERA ballooned over the last month, now sitting at 5.21 with a 1.55 whip. His last two starts have been rough. He gave up 9 runs over 8.2 combined innings against the Mets and Brewers, and he's only made it past the 5th inning once in his last 5 outings. The Braves feast on lefties, and that's a key angle here. As a team, Atlanta is batting .277 with 8.829 ops versus left-handed pitching, both top 5 in MLB. Offensively, the Braves remain elite. They're top 3 in team ops, runs scored, and slugging percentage. Ronald Acuna Jr. is back to full speed and has reached base safely in 16 straight games, while Matt Olson is heating up with 5 homers over his last 8. Even their bottom-of-the-order bats like Michael Harris II and Orlando Arcia are producing in key spots. The Marlins, on the other hand, are struggling to generate consistent offense. They rank 27th in runs per game and have been held to 3 runs or fewer in 7 of their last 10. Their offensive WAR is bottom 5, and they've been particularly poor in clutch situations, stranding too many base runners and lacking power outside of Jazz Chisholm Jr. From a betting perspective, Atlanta is 7-2 ATS in their last 9 road games and 15-6 straight up in their last 21 versus teams under .500. The Marlins are just 3-11 in their last 14 games, and they've failed to cover the run line in 9 of those 11 losses. There's no question who's playing better ball right now, and the trends clearly favor Atlanta. The total opened at 8.5 and hasn't moved much, but given Elder's form and Miami's lack of pop, it's worth a look at the under as a correlated play. For player props, Acuna's total bases prop sits at 1.5 and we like the over given his splits versus lefties. He's hitting .341 with 8.965 ops versus southpaws this season. Olson to hit a homer is plus 320, and with Rogers giving up 9 long balls in his last 7 starts, it's in play. Another sharp prop angle is Ozzie Albies over 1.5 total bases. Albies has crushed Rogers historically, going 6 for 14 with 2 doubles and a homer lifetime. If you're building a same-game parlay, start with Braves moneyline as your base. Add Acuna over 1.5 terabytes, Olson to record an RBI, and under 9.5 total runs. That 4-leg SGP pays out around plus 750 on most major books, depending on when you lock it in. You can also hedge with the Braves minus 1.5 run line, which still has value at plus 110 or better. Books are shading toward the Braves in early sharp money indicators. 68% of handle is on Atlanta as of this morning, compared to just 58% of tickets, showing that bigger bettors are backing the road team. One prop market that's flown under the radar is first 5 innings team total. The Braves over 2.5 F5 runs is sitting at plus 105, and considering their explosive offense against a vulnerable lefty, that's worth strong consideration. For the Marlins, fade props like total hits or runs scored unless you're looking at late-game bullpen matchups, where Atlanta has occasionally shown weakness. Bullpen-wise, Atlanta has the edge. Their relievers rank 6th in ERA and 4th in WHIP over the last 30 days, while Miami's pen is 22nd in ERA and 26th in save percentage. If this game is close late, expect the Braves to close it out. The best straight bet here remains Atlanta moneyline, even if you're laying minus 140 to minus 150 depending on the book. The matchup, momentum, and offensive edge are all on their side. If you're looking for value, the alternate run line at minus 2.5 Braves pays out at plus 165 and could be live if Rogers gets shelled early. Final lean. Braves ML, lean under 8.5. Top props. Acuna over 1.5 terabytes, Olsenauer plus 320, Albies over 1.5 terabytes. SGP value. Braves ML plus Acuna 2 plus TB plus Olsen RBI plus under 9.5 for plus 700 plus. Watch the Rogers line. If it balloons past plus 145, there could be sharp buyback, but as of now this sets up as a strong situational edge for Atlanta. More MLB breakdowns coming. Hit subscribe and keep riding beyond the box score for sharp insight every single day. We've got a heavyweight Al clash coming your way as the Yankees travel to Houston to take on the Astros. This one has all the ingredients of a playoff caliber matchup: 2 veteran-laden lineups, high-leverage bullpens, and starting pitchers with something to prove. The books opened this game close to a pick'em, with slight juice toward Houston at home, and early money has trickled in on the Astros. Let's break down why the edge may not be as clear-cut as it looks. Starting on the mound, New York is turning to Nestor Cortes, the crafty left-hander who's been steady this year, even if unspectacular. Cortes enters with a 4.03 ERA, a 1.23 WHIP, and a solid 104 TO28 strikeout-to-walk ratio over 116 innings. He's been better lately, with a 2.98 ERA over his last 5 starts, including a quality start against Baltimore last time out. Against right-handed heavy lineups, Cortes leans on deception and command more than overpowering stuff. That plays well in a ballpark like Houston, where pitching to weak contact is crucial. He's also been more effective on the road recently, allowing just 4 earned runs across his last 17 innings pitched away from Yankee Stadium. On the other side, the Astros send out Hunter Brown, who's had an up-and-down 2025. He's 6-9 with a 4.76 ERA and a 1.42 WHIP, and the main issue has been inconsistency with location. In his last outing, he gave up 5 earned runs over 4.1 innings against the Rays and has failed to reach the 6th inning in 4 of his last 5 starts. Brown struggles against patient teams, and that's a big problem against a Yankees lineup that leads the AL in walks drawn. Opponents are batting .279 against Brown the first time through the order, and .311 the second time, suggesting live betting opportunities if the Yankees get early traffic on the bases. Offensively, both teams have elite firepower, but New York's lineup has been slightly more consistent over the last 30 days. Aaron Judge has returned to MVP form, 34 home runs, .630 slugging, and he's recorded at least 1 hit in 12 of his last 13 games. Juan Soto is getting on base at a .409 clip and has the 3rd best hard hit percentage in MLB. The Yankees rank 2nd in isolated power and 1st in barrel rate. Meanwhile, Houston's offense remains dangerous. Kyle Tucker is an all-star caliber bat, Alex Bregman is heating up, and Yordan Alvarez has reached base in 18 straight. But Houston is striking out more than usual and ranks just 17th in ops against lefties this season. That's a red flag when facing a pitcher like Cortes who limits damage and doesn't give up many free passes. The Yankees are 8-3 in their last 11 games as underdogs and 12-5 straight up in their last 17 road games. They've also covered the run line in 9 of those 12 wins. Houston, meanwhile, is 4-6 in their last 10 games at home, and their bullpen has shown signs of fatigue. Ryan Presley and Brian Abreu have both blown saves in the past 2 weeks, and as a group, the pen ranks 23rd in WHIP over the past 30 days. New York's bullpen, in contrast, ranks second in bullpen era and first in inherited runners stranded, which could be pivotal in a close game. Now let's talk bets and props. The straight value is on the Yankees' moneyline, currently sitting around plus 105 depending on your book. There's a clear edge in starting pitching form and bullpen reliability. Total opened at 8.5, and we're leaning under. This total could be inflated due to name brand power, but the matchups suggest a lower scoring game early on. Cortes against a struggling Houston versus LHP offense and Brown likely getting a quick hook makes the first 5 under 4.5 a sharp play. For player props, Aaron Judge over 1.5 total bases is plus 110. He's slugging .729 in night games and has a 1.002 ops against right-handed pitching. Juan Soto to record 2+ hits is at plus 240 and offers sneaky value given Brown's trouble with left-handed hitters. Giancarlo Stanton is always boom or bust, but the over 0.5 RBI at plus 160 is worth a sprinkle with risk opportunities likely. From the Astros side, Yordan Alvarez over 0.5 home runs is priced at plus 350. He's 4 for 10 with 2 bombs off Cortes in his career and has been red hot against lefties in August. For a same-game parlay, here's a 4-leg construction that carries some real upside while staying within correlated outcomes. Yankees moneyline, Judge 2+ total bases, Soto to record a hit, and under 9.5 total runs. That SGP sits around plus 750 at FanDuel, and it leans into the Yankees' OBP and power while fading offensive outbursts from the Astros' inconsistent middle order. You can hedge by playing just the Yankees' F5 megaleaders if you're concerned about Houston's late-game bats or a bullpen meltdown. Another angle. First inning no-run NRFI is minus 115 on both sides and worth a look. Both pitchers tend to settle in better after the first, but given the disciplined approach of these lineups, you may get a clean top and bottom. If you're feeling aggressive, take the Yankees minus 1.5 alt line at plus 180. The Astros have lost 4 of their last 6 games by multiple runs. Final lean. Yankees ML plus 105. Total lean. Under 8.5. Best props. Judge over 1.5 terabytes, Soto 2+ hits, Stanton RBI. Sharp angle. F5 under 4.5. Top SGP build. Yankees ML plus Judge 2+ TB plus Soto hit plus under 9.5 plus 750. Sprinkle on Yankees minus 1.5 alt at plus 180 if you want to chase value with strong run differential trends. The San Francisco Giants and Washington Nationals meet for the rubber match of their 3-game set on Saturday. The Nationals, rebuilding and leaning on young arms, have overachieved at times this season, but the Giants are still in a wild card hunt despite an up-and-down campaign that's tested their depth. Game 1 was all Giants, with San Francisco riding an early offensive outburst to a comfortable win, while Game 2 flipped the script as Washington's bullpen held firm and the Nats walked it off in extras. This finale now turns into a must-win for the Giants, who don't want to drop a series against a sub-.500 team. The pitching matchup for Game 3 pits Keaton win for San Francisco against Washington's Jake Irvin. On paper, this looks like a clash between 2 average right-handers, but the betting value here runs much deeper once you peel back the surface. Keaton Win enters this game with a 4.81 ERA, a 1.34 WHIP, and a 3-9 record through 17 starts. The 26-year-old has been inconsistent at best, struggling to miss bats and giving up hard contact regularly. He's allowed 14 home runs across just 84 innings pitched, and his splits show a troubling trend, 8.290 opponent average when facing lineups the second time through. That's critical against a Nationals team that's not flashy but plays small ball efficiently and makes contact. The Nats are top 10 in the league in fewest strikeouts per game and have shown a knack for grinding out at bats. Jake Irvin, meanwhile, has been better than expected, with a 4.13 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, and a 6-7 record through 22 starts. He's not dominant but throws strikes and avoids the blow-up innings that have plagued Wynn. More impressively, Irvin has gone at least 6 innings in 5 of his last 6 outings, including quality starts against contenders like the Braves and Phillies. Over his last 30 innings, he's allowed just 4 walks. That's key against a San Francisco team that lacks lineup depth and relies on base runners to generate offense. The Giants' lineup remains a mixed bag. Patrick Bailey has emerged as a clutch bat, and Matt Chapman continues to flash both leather and power, but there's little consistency beyond that. San Francisco ranks 22nd in MLB in runs per game and is just 24th in ops against right-handed pitching. On the road, those struggles are amplified, as they average just 3.8 runs per game and have posted a .224 team batting average over their last 15 away contests. The Nationals, while not an offensive juggernaut, have been better at home, where they've scored at least 5 runs in 6 of their last 9 games. C.J. Abrams continues to shine as a leadoff hitter, hitting .277 with 13 homers and 33 stolen bases. Lane Thomas has also quietly heated up, batting .316 over his last 10 games and driving in 8 runs in that span. This offense, while not explosive, matches up well against a pitcher like Wynn who relies on contact and has a high whip. If Washington can string together early base runners, they're in good shape to control tempo and build momentum. From a betting standpoint, this is a fascinating value spot. Odds makers are pricing this game near a pick'em, with both teams around -110 to -115 on the moneyline depending on the book. The total is set at 9.0, which makes sense given the pitching and weather. However, sharp action has already started leaning toward the Nationals, and with good reason. The Nats have won 7 of their last 10 home games against right-handed starters and are 5-2 in Jake Irvin's last 7 home starts. The Giants, meanwhile, are 3-9 in their last 12 road games and just 1-5 in Keaton Wynn's last 6 starts. The bullpen edge also leans Washington's way, as Kyle Finnegan and Hunter Harvey have locked down the back end of the Nats' pen with a combined 3.02 ERA and 19 saves. In contrast, the Giants' bullpen has been unreliable lately, posting a 5.03 ERA since the All-Star break, including multiple blown saves from Camilo Doval. Prop-wise, there's hidden value on C.J. Abrams to record a hit and stolen base. He's recorded at least 1 hit in 11 of his last 13 games and has swiped 4 bags in his last 6 contests. Books have his hit line juiced, but a hit plus stolen base same-game parlay can return close to +250 odds depending on where you shop. Another player prop to consider is Lane Thomas over 1.5 total bases at +115. He's crushed Wynn-style pitchers all year and has multiple extra base hits this week. On the San Francisco side, if there's one bat worth targeting, it's Wilmer Flores, who owns a .309 average versus righties this season and has a career .400 average against Jake Irvin in limited at-bats. A Flores RBI prop at +200 or better is worth a sprinkle, especially with him batting cleanup. Now to build a solid SGP with plus money value. Start with Nationals moneyline -110, add C.J. Abrams to get a hit, Lane Thomas over 1.5 total bases, and Keaton Wynn over 2.5 earned runs allowed. This combo gives you a strong correlation and pushes the total payout to around +500 depending on the book. For a latter option, you can boost that further with Jake Irvin 5+ strikeouts and Nationals team total over 4.5 runs, taking it into +750 territory. It's a high-risk build, but all legs are backed by strong matchup data and trends. The final score projection here is Washington 6, San Francisco 4, with the Nats taking advantage of early traffic against Wynn and the Giants' bullpen failing to shut the door late. This is the kind of under-the-radar spot that separates public bettors from sharp ones, and with the line hovering near a pick'em, we're getting pure value on a team that's just playing better baseball right now. The Nationals aren't glamorous, but they're gritty in executing the fundamentals, which makes them a dangerous fade-buster in spots like this. Ride with Washington on the money line, and consider sprinkling some SGP builds around Abrams, Thomas, and Irvin to maximize your edge. The Detroit Tigers and Los Angeles Angels continue their 4-game series on Friday night at Angel Stadium, and while neither team is making headlines in the playoff picture, there's still serious value to be found in the betting markets here. The Tigers come into this one fresh off back-to-back losses in the first 2 games of the series, including a painful 7-6 extra inning defeat in Game 1 and a 6-1 letdown in Game 2. Despite a relatively solid road record, Detroit has been inconsistent offensively, and now faces a dangerous test against a lefty starter they haven't seen much of. On the flip side, the Angels have quietly won 5 of their last 7 games, and they're seeing better production from the bottom of the order, particularly in clutch moments. This matchup pits Tigers rookie sensation Reese Olson against the veteran lefty Tyler Anderson, who has been shockingly stable in a chaotic rotation for Los Angeles. The key question here isn't just who wins, but where the value is: run lines, totals, or player props. Let's dive deep. The pitching matchup offers some intriguing betting dynamics. Reese Olson has been one of the few bright spots in Detroit's rotation this season. He enters this start with a 4-9 record, but his 3.68 ERA and 1.17 WHIP paint a much more favorable picture than the win-loss column. Olson is coming off a strong outing against the Red Sox where he gave up just 1 run over 5 innings with 6 strikeouts and 0 walks. On the road, he's maintained a 3.41 ERA over 55 innings, holding opponents to a .230 batting average. However, his road FIP is slightly elevated at 4.07, suggesting some regression might be due. The concern with Olson is pitch efficiency. He rarely gets deep into games, which puts pressure on a Detroit bullpen that's ranked 18th in ERA over the past 30 days. Tyler Anderson, meanwhile, has quietly turned in a very respectable season. The veteran southpaw is 9-8 with a 3.21 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP over 23 starts. At home, he's been particularly effective, posting a 2.98 ERA and holding batters to just a .216 average. What's more impressive is his recent stretch. Over his last 6 outings, Anderson has a 2.12 ERA, including 6 quality starts. He's not flashy. He won't rack up strikeouts, but he induces soft contact and keeps the ball in the park. He's allowed just 2 home runs in his last 8 starts, and the Tigers aren't exactly a long ball heavy team to begin with. Detroit ranks 25th in MLB in slugging percentage and 27th in ops against left-handed pitching. This matchup favors Anderson's pitch-to-contact style, especially against a team that struggles against changeups and cutters. The Tigers' offensive profile continues to be a problem. They rank in the bottom 5 in team batting average, slugging, and runs scored. Riley Green is the only consistent threat in the lineup, slashing .282 with 16 homers and 8.357 OBP, but even he has cooled off, hitting .231 over the past 2 weeks. Spencer Torkelson remains a disappointment, batting under .220 with a WRC plus below 90. As a team, Detroit has posted just a .205 batting average over the last 7 games and has only hit 6 homers during that span. Even against mediocre pitching, they've struggled to string hits together. With Anderson on the bump, a lefty who thrives on keeping hitters off balance, the Tigers could be in for another long night. On the flip side, Detroit's best chance may come early. Anderson has shown occasional trouble the second time through the order, with opponents hitting .263 during that stretch, but banking on sustained offensive production from Detroit right now is a risky bet. For the Angels, it's been a rocky road without Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, but they're starting to find a rhythm. Logan O'Hoppe has been a revelation at the plate lately, batting .298 with a .936 ops over his last 15 games, and has homered in back-to-back contests. Mickey Moniak is starting to regain his timing and has 2 multi-hit games in the last week. Joe Adell has also quietly produced with power, slugging .527 with 15 homers on the year. While the Angels don't have an elite offense, they've been situationally clutch, scoring 25 of their last 40 runs with 2 outs. Against a rookie like Olson who tends to wear down after the 75-pitch mark, this Angels lineup might have an edge in the late innings. Combine that with the fact that Detroit's bullpen has blown 18 saves this year, tied for 6th most in baseball, and you get a clear late-game advantage for Los Angeles. From a betting perspective, this game opens up multiple opportunities. The full game total sits at 8.5, and with both starters having errors under 3.70, the under might initially look tempting. But tread carefully. Olson rarely goes past the 5th inning, and Detroit's bullpen ERA in the 6th through 9th innings is 4.51. Meanwhile, the Angels' bullpen has quietly improved in July and August, but still ranks 21st in K/BB ratio during that stretch. A smarter approach might be to target the first 5 innings under at 4.5 runs, banking on a low-scoring duel early before the bullpens muddy the waters. As for the side, the Angels' moneyline is sitting around -125, and with Anderson's recent dominance, that's a playable number. But if you want a juicier angle, consider taking the Angels on the -1 run line at +150 odds. They've won 5 of their last 6 victories by 2+ runs, and Detroit has lost 7 of its last 8 games by multiple runs. Player props offer solid upside in this one. Tyler Anderson's strikeout line is set at 4.5, and while he's not a strikeout artist, Detroit whiffs 9.2 times per game, 6th most in MLB. The over on Anderson K's has hit in 3 straight starts, and it's worth a sprinkle at +110. On the Tigers side, Riley Green over 1.5 total bases at +130 could be the only Tigers hitter worth targeting. He's had some success against lefties with 8.283 average and 8.775 ops this season. Logan O'Hoppe to record an RBI at +160 is another strong angle, especially with how he's been hitting in the clutch. And if you're looking for a home run prop, Joe Adell at +500 offers high value considering Olson's occasional mistake pitches to righties. For same-game parlays, a value SGP could look like this: Angels ML, Logan O'Hoppe to record a hit, under 4.5 total runs in the first 5 innings, and Tyler Anderson over 3.5 strikeouts. That builds out to +475 odds and correlates well with how this matchup should play out. Another longshot SGP could include Angels -1.5 run line, Joe Adell to homer, Reese Olson under 5.5 strikeouts, and Tigers under 3.5 total runs. That same game parlay builds odds in the +950 range and reflects the most likely blowout scenario. Final score prediction: Angels 5, Tigers 2. This game sets up well for Anderson to continue his hot stretch while Olson battles through 5 innings before the bullpen falters. Detroit's offensive struggles, especially against lefties, continue to be their Achilles heel, and the Angels' opportunistic bats should do just enough to secure another series win. Stay disciplined with the unders early and lean on the Angels' side props to find value as the night unfolds in Anaheim. The Pirates head to Cincinnati in this mid-August NL Central clash as both teams look to stay alive in the wild card hunt. Cincinnati took the last meeting at PNC Park in a slugfest, but this series opener at Great American Ballpark has the makings of a tightly contested pitcher's duel, at least for the first few innings. The Reds are expected to send left-hander Andrew Abbott to the mound, and he's quietly had a solid stretch lately. Over his last 5 starts, Abbott has posted a 2.81 ERA while holding opponents to 8.216 batting average. He's coming off a strong outing against the Marlins where he went 6.2 innings with 7 strikeouts and just 1 walk. The command was the biggest takeaway, only 85 pitches across nearly 7 innings. He's keeping the ball in the yard, too, allowing just 3 home runs in his last 30 innings. But he'll have to navigate a Pirates lineup that is better against lefties than many think. The Bucks rank 8th in the majors in ops versus left-handed pitching since July 1st, led by Brian Reynolds and Connor Joe, both of whom are slugging over .500 in that split. Reynolds in particular has been heating up post-All-Star break, batting .298 with 6 homers and 8.934 ops since mid-July. He's also hitting .327 lifetime against Abbott in 12 at-bats. It wouldn't be surprising to see Derek Shelton stack the top of the lineup with righties like Joe, Reynolds, Sawinski, and Henry Davis, who returned last week and already has 3 extra base hits in 5 games. That said, Abbott's low walk rate and ground ball tendencies could still keep the Pirates from stringing together big innings. On the flip side, Pittsburgh gives the ball to rookie Jared Jones, who has impressed this season with elite-level stuff but has run into some trouble managing counts and pitch efficiency. Jones has 129 strikeouts in 107 innings and a 3.71 FIP, but he's had trouble with the long ball, allowing 17 homers so far. Great American Ballpark is not where you want to struggle with our FB rate. That said, Jones' strikeout props are worth a long look, especially against a Reds lineup that leads the NL in strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers in the last 30 days, 26.8%. Elly De La Cruz, Noel V. Mart, and Will Benson are all prone to swing and miss, and have strikeout rates over 29%. Jones' K prop likely opens at 6.5 or even 7.5 at plus money, and he's cleared that number in 3 of his last 4 road starts. Even more interesting is Jones' performance in day games. He has a 2.94 ERA and a 34% K rate in daytime starts, and this one's a 12:35 p.m. local time first pitch. If he can manage pitch count, he could cruise through 5 innings with 7+ Ks. When it comes to offense, the Reds have been inconsistent lately, but they still have power throughout the order. Christian Encarnacion Strand has been the Reds' best bat over the past 3 weeks, slugging .576 with 5 bombs in his last 16 games. He also crushes fastballs, and Jones throws his 4-seamer nearly 50% of the time. Encarnacion Strand to homer at plus 400 or better is a strong value play in the HR prop market. Elly De La Cruz is always a wild card. He's had back-to-back multi-hit games and already has 49 stolen bases this season, but his erratic plate approach makes his total bases and props volatile. However, facing a high-velocity pitcher like Jones, he might shorten up and look to punch singles. He's plus 120 to steal a base most nights, and that's in play again here considering Henry Davis is just a league-average catcher at throwing runners out. From a betting perspective, this game is close to a pick'em, with the Reds likely favored at home in the -120 to -130 range depending on bullpen usage the night before. That said, Pittsburgh's bullpen has quietly been excellent lately, posting a 2.89 ERA since July 15. David Bednar and Colin Holderman have been elite in late innings, and if Jones can hand them a lead, they're very capable of closing it out. The first 5 innings under 4.5 or 5.0 runs is a sharp look here, especially given how both starters match up against these lineups early. The full game total is sitting around 9.5, and with the ballpark factor, that feels accurate. However, both starters are trending up, and neither lineup is consistent enough to hammer the over. If you're looking for value on the full game side, the Pirates on the run line, plus 1.5, is tempting, especially paired with a total under 10 for a plus 200 style SGP. Let's build that out. A same-game parlay at plus 450 odds built around Jared Jones over 6.5 strikeouts, Pirates plus 1.5 run line, and total under 9.5 runs. Sprinkle in Brian Reynolds to record 2+ total bases at plus 125, and you've got a parlay with strong upside and narrative backing. Prop-wise, Encarnacion Strand to hit a home run at plus 400, Jones over 6.5 strikeouts at plus 110, and Reynolds to have a hit and a walk at plus 240 are all strong looks. You can also consider laddering Jones' Ks up to 9+ at plus 400 if you're feeling aggressive. Final score prediction: Pirates 5, Reds 4. A late home run by Reynolds seals it, and Bednar slams the door in the 9th. Watch out for a sneaky pitcher's duel early that opens up late once the bullpens are called upon. The Baltimore Orioles head west to take on the Oakland Athletics at the Coliseum, and although this may look like a lopsided matchup on paper, there's a lot more to unpack under the surface. First, let's look at the big picture. Baltimore enters this game with one of the best records in all of baseball, hovering well above the .600 mark, while the A's continue to linger at the bottom of the AL West, over 30 games below .500. But this isn't just about team records, it's about pitching matchups, travel spots, lineup edges, and betting angles that the public might overlook. Baltimore is expected to roll with lefty Cole Irvin here. Irvin, a former Athletic, will be making a bit of a homecoming start. This season, Irvin has pitched to a 3.76 ERA over 100-plus innings, with a whip under 1.25. He's done a solid job limiting damage and keeping walks down, which is crucial when facing a free-swinging team like Oakland that ranks bottom 5 in OBP and team batting average. What stands out about Irvin lately is his consistency. Over his last 6 starts, he's posted a 2.67 ERA and allowed more than 2 earned runs only once. This is exactly the kind of profile you want when backing a road favorite. Even though Irvin isn't a strikeout artist, he has great command and induces soft contact, especially with his two-seamer and changeup combo that works particularly well against righty-heavy lineups like Oakland's. On the flip side, Oakland is projected to counter with Joey Estes. The 22-year-old rookie has flashed some potential, but the inconsistencies are glaring. He's posted a 5.73 ERA across his 9 appearances this year, with a 1.48 whip and a HR9 rate north of 1.5. Against a team like Baltimore that's stacked with right-handed power and disciplined hitters, this is a dangerous matchup. Over his last 3 outings, Estes has given up 11 earned runs in just 13 innings, and he hasn't made it past the 5th inning in any of them. His fastball has good velocity, but when it's not located, it tends to get crushed, especially by hitters with high barrel rates like Anthony Santander and Ryan Mountcastle. When comparing the offenses, Baltimore is on another level. They rank top 5 in WRC+, top 3 in home runs, and are especially potent against right-handed pitching. Adley Rutschman is having an all-star caliber year with 8.290 average and 19 homers, while Gunnar Henderson is pushing MVP territory with 31 bombs and 8.530 slugging mark. Cedric Mullins and Jordan Westburg have added consistent production at the bottom of the lineup, making this Orioles order dangerous from 1 through 9. Oakland, meanwhile, continues to be anemic offensively. They rank bottom 3 in nearly every major offensive category including ops, runs per game, and team batting average. Brent Rooker and Shea Langeliers provide some pop, but the A's lack consistent contact hitters and struggle mightily with runners in scoring position, sporting an abysmal .198 average in those spots. Now let's talk betting. Baltimore opened around -185 on the money line, and sharp money has pushed that up toward -200 or higher. Despite the juice, the O's are absolutely worth including in parlays and same-game parlays. Oakland has lost 14 of its last 18 home games against teams with winning records, and they're just 2-11 in their last 13 games versus left-handed starters. Baltimore, on the other hand, is 21-7 in its last 28 road games and has covered the run line in 11 of its last 16 wins. The run line at -1.5 +100 to +105 in most markets offers better value than laying the juice straight up, especially with Baltimore's bullpen advantage. Felix Bautista may still be recovering, but Yennier Cano, Dylan Tate, and Cionel Perez have quietly been nails over the last month, posting a collective ERA under 2.80 since the All-Star break. For props, let's look at Ryan Mountcastle over 1.5 total bases at +125. He's batting over .320 against righties since July 1 and crushes fastballs up in the zone, exactly what Estes leans on. Also look for Gunnar Henderson to hit a home run at +330. He's already hit 17 of his 31 long balls on the road, and he's due for a big swing after a mini power drought. On the Athletics side, The only prop worth considering is Brent Rooker over 0.5 RBI at plus 160. He's one of the few A's bats with any legitimate threat potential and has been the lone spark in their lineup. Strikeout props are tricky in this matchup. Irvin typically doesn't rack up Ks, but he's facing a team that strikes out more than 26% of the time against lefties, so over 4.5 kiloseconds at plus 115 is worth a sprinkle. Estes, however, is unlikely to last long enough to clear his line, which sits around 4.5 with heavy juice to the under. Consider betting under 4.5 kiloseconds at minus 140 or better if you find it. Now let's build out a same-game parlay for plus money value. Start with Orioles moneyline. Add Ryan Mountcastle to record a hit. Include Gunnar Henderson over 1.5 total bases, and wrap it up with over 7.5 runs. That 4-leg parlay pays out around plus 450 depending on the book. If you want to play it safer, a 3-leg parlay with Orioles ML, Mountcastle to record a hit, and over 6.5 total runs still gets you to plus 230 territory and gives you more wiggle room on the total. Speaking of totals, the full game total opened at 8.5 and has seen some juice toward the over, likely due to Oakland's bullpen struggles. The A's relievers have the highest ERA in baseball over the past 30 days at 6.98, and their home park hasn't been quite the pitcher's haven it used to be this year. With wind projected to blow out slightly and 2 shaky starting pitchers, over 8.5 at minus 110 is a decent look, especially if you're fading Estes' ability to keep Baltimore's bats quiet. Also consider Baltimore team total over 4.5 runs at minus 120. It's hit in 7 of their last 9 road games and has strong correlation to both the ML and run line outcomes. Final score prediction: Orioles 7, Athletics 3. Baltimore covers the run line, the total goes over, and this becomes one of the strongest parlay anchors of the night. This is a game where trusting the better team, better starter, better bullpen, and hotter offense all converge to create one of the sharper plays on the board. Minnesota and Kansas City go head-to-head in this AL Central clash on Friday night, and while these teams have had very different narratives this season, this game presents a sharp betting opportunity if you know where to look. The Twins are fighting to maintain their wildcard position, while the Royals, who have faded after a strong start, are now hovering just below .500, trying to find rhythm heading into the dog days of August. Both teams have strengths, but one has a definitive edge when the numbers are broken down beyond the box score. Let's start with the projected pitching matchup: Pablo Lopez versus Alec Marsh. Lopez continues to be a top-tier arm in the Twins' rotation, and though his season-long ERA sits around 3.92, his underlying metrics are even sharper. He holds a whip of 1.14 and AK 9 of 10.8, with a FIP closer to 3.40. He's been excellent at missing bats, particularly with his changeup and high-ride fastball. Over his last 5 starts, Lopez has racked up 37 strikeouts across 29 innings, and he's allowed just 3 walks in that stretch. His command has been razor-sharp. Against right-handed heavy lineups like Kansas City's, Lopez tends to perform even better. Righties are hitting just .217 against him this year. On the mound for Kansas City, Alec Marsh is an intriguing case. The second-year righty has taken a step forward this season, but he's still been inconsistent. His ERA sits at 4.66, with a whip of 1.38 and a troubling HR9 mark of 1.6. His stuff is decent. He throws a mid-90s fastball and a solid slider, but when he gets behind in counts, he gets hit hard. Marsh has a tendency to nibble early and fall behind, which is exactly the wrong approach against a Minnesota team that's top 10 in walk rate since the All-Star break. Against lefties, Marsh has been particularly vulnerable, giving up a .286 opponent batting average and an OPS over .800. That puts someone like Max Kepler or Trevor Larnach in a great spot tonight. Looking at the offenses, the Twins have started to turn it on in the second half. Minnesota ranks top 5 in ops since the All-Star break and has been especially strong against right-handed pitching. Carlos Correa has heated up with 7 home runs in his last 20 games. And Edouard Julien is quietly hitting .285 with 8.375 OBP since July 1st. Royce Lewis brings pop and clutch hitting from the middle of the lineup, and Willie Castro continues to be a menace on the base paths. Meanwhile, the Royals are far less consistent. Bobby Witt Jr. is the clear star, and he's put up a .307 average with 20 home runs and 32 stolen bases. But outside of Witt and maybe Vinny Pasquantino, there's a lot of swing and miss and not much production. Kansas City ranks 24th in runs per game and 25th in walk rate. Let's dig into the betting angles. The moneyline opened with Minnesota as a modest -140 road favorite and has already moved closer to -155 as sharp money trickles in on the Twins. The public might look at the Royals' decent home record and hesitate, but this is a mismatch in starting pitching, bullpen depth, and lineup form. Minnesota also holds a 6-1 record in their last 7 games against AL Central opponents and are 9-3 in Pablo Lopez's last 12 starts. Kansas City, on the other hand, is just 3-9 in Marsh's last 12 outings and continues to struggle in night games at home, where they've dropped 14 of their last 19 under the lights. From a betting perspective, the Twins on the moneyline at -150 or better is playable as a single. But for better value, the run line -1.5 plus 120 is the sharp side. Minnesota has won 14 of their last 17 games by multiple runs. Their bullpen, led by Griffin Jackson and Joan Duran, has been nails in late-inning spots, holding opposing hitters to a .205 average since July 1st. Now, let's talk player props. Pablo Lopez strikeouts over 6.5 kiloseconds plus 100 is a solid lean. He's hit this number in 4 of his last 6 starts and now faces a Royals team that ranks bottom 10 in contact rate against right-handers. Also look for Carlos Correa over 1.5 total bases plus 125. Correa has posted a .911 OPS over his last 15 games and crushes fastballs, which Marsh relies on heavily. For a long-shot HR prop, sprinkle on Max Kepler to hit hour plus 420. He's hit safely in 8 of his last 10 and has a high barrel rate against right-handers. On the Royals side, the only hitter worth backing in the props market is Bobby Witt Jr. to record 2+ hits plus 200. He's seeing the ball well and will likely get 4 to 5 abs in the leadoff spot. Another soft look is Pasquantino over 0.5 RB is plus 150 if you expect any scoring from KC. Now let's construct a high-value same-game parlay SGP. Start with Twins moneyline, add Carlos Correa to record a hit, include Pablo Lopez 6+ strikeouts, and close with over 7.5 total runs. That 4-leg SGP gives us around plus 475 payout, depending on the book. If you're looking for a safer 3-leg SGP, go with Twins ML plus Correa hit plus game total over 6.5 for a solid plus 250. Regarding the total, this game opened at 8.5, and while the pitching advantage leans to Minnesota, Kansas City's bullpen could give up runs late. The Twins have scored 6+ runs in 9 of their last 13 games, and the over has cashed in 6 of Lopez's last 8 starts. The market leans toward the over at -115, and that's a fair play given both bullpens and Minnesota's lineup depth. If you're not comfortable on the full game over, then play the Twins team total over 4.5 -120. It's hit in 11 of their last 14 wins and correlates directly with a Lopez quality start. Final score prediction: Twins 6, Royals 3. Minnesota covers the run line, Pablo Lopez dominates early, and Kansas City's bullpen gives up late insurance. That creates multiple angles to cash, from ML and run line to strikeouts and SGP builds. The AL Central matchup between the Cleveland Guardians and the Chicago White Sox might not be drawing national headlines, but sharp bettors are locked in on this game with a clear value edge on the board. Cleveland remains in the playoff conversation, sitting atop the division thanks to elite pitching and consistent situational hitting. On the flip side, the White Sox are one of the worst teams in baseball, firmly in the middle of a painful rebuild and currently bottom 3 in every relevant offensive category. That's not just noise. We're talking about a 35-74 team that ranks dead last in runs per game, on-base percentage, and strikeout-to-walk ratio. Now let's get into the pitching matchup. Triston McKenzie vs. Eric Fedda. McKenzie returned to full strength in July after a slow ramp-up due to early season arm fatigue. His current line, a 3.77 ERA with a 1.14 WHIP and 10.1 K/9, is strong, but even more telling is the shape of his recent outings. Over his last 4 starts, McKenzie has pitched 24.1 innings, allowed only 4 earned runs, and racked up 29 strikeouts. The fastball velocity is sitting consistently around 94 miles per hour, and his curveball has been nasty. Opponents are hitting just .179 against the pitch. Against right-handed heavy lineups like the White Sox, McKenzie has historically dominated, and that's exactly what we're expecting here. Eric Fedda, meanwhile, has been a serviceable arm in a tough situation. His 4.28 ERA and 1.36 WHIP reflect the chaos around him as much as his actual command. He's not getting whiffs. His K/9 sits under 8.0, and the walk rate is creeping north of 3.3 per 9. Fedda's biggest issue: left-handed hitters are slashing .296, .367, .483 off him this season, and that's where Cleveland can attack. Expect hitters like Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, and Andres Gimenez to take advantage of that matchup in the middle of the order. Offensively, the Guardians are quietly one of the most efficient teams in MLB. They don't wow you with home runs, just 10th in the AL in long balls, but they manufacture runs at an elite clip, ranking top 5 in batting average with runners in scoring position. Jose Ramirez is the engine, slashing .281 with 24 home runs and 81 RBIs. Josh Naylor has been red hot over the past 30 games, hitting .325 with 8.940 ops. Add in David Fry, Stephen Kwan, and Gimenez, all high contact, low strikeout guys, and this Cleveland team becomes a nightmare for pitchers who don't miss bats. Meanwhile, the White Sox lineup continues to be a disaster. Luis Robert Jr. remains out, Eloy Jimenez is hitting .238, and Andrew Vaughn is providing minimal power production. Chicago ranks 29th in OBP, dead last in batting average against right-handed pitching, and they've scored 3 runs or fewer in 17 of their last 23 games. In night games, their offense somehow dips even lower, averaging just 2.8 runs per game over their last 15 under the lights. Now let's break down the betting board. Cleveland opened as -185 favorites and have moved closer to -200, with sharp money all over the Guardians in both moneyline parlays and first 5 action. The first bet to lock in is Guardians -1.5 plus 105. Cleveland has won 7 of their last 9 by multiple runs, and the White Sox bullpen is a complete mess, bottom 3 in ERA, hour 9, and WHIP since the All-Star break. You can also play Guardians -0.5 first 5 innings, -130, if you want to isolate Fedda's struggles and avoid late-inning variance. For the total, we're sitting at 8 flat. The under has gone 7-3 in Cleveland's last 10 games, but that's a little deceptive because their bullpen has been elite. Emmanuel Clase, Hunter Gaddis, and Cade Smith have combined for a 1.92 ERA in the last 30 games. But we're not touching the full game under here. Instead, lock in White Sox team total under 3.5 -115. This is a key number that's hit in 14 of their last 19 games, and McKenzie is dealing right now. In the props market, here's where the value explodes. First, Triston McKenzie over 6.5 kiloseconds plus 105 as a premium look. Chicago ranks 28th in contact rate and 30th in walk rate against righties, and they've struck out at least 7 times in 9 of their last 11 games. Also look at Josh Naylor over 1.5 total bases plus 120, he's slugging .512 over his last 25 games and hits right-handers with authority. For a deep value home run prop, Sprinkle Jose Ramirez to hit hour, plus 430. He's homered in 3 of his last 10 games and matches up well with Feda's mediocre fastball-slider combo. Now let's build a same-game parlay (SGP) that stacks value while protecting risk. Start with Guardians moneyline. Add Tristan McKenzie 6+ Ks, throw in Josh Naylor to record a hit, and finish with under 9.5 alternate game total. That 4-leg SGP should come in around plus 375, depending on the book. If you want to go spicier, sub in Guardians minus 1.5 instead of the ML and boost your return closer to plus 500. For those looking to build a bigger daily MLB parlay, include Guardians ML alongside Twins ML, Orioles ML, and Braves minus 1.5 for a 4-leg ticket returning close to plus 675, depending on line movement. Final score projection. Guardians 5, White Sox 1. Tristan McKenzie dominates through 6 or 7, Cleveland hits Feda early, and the bullpen closes the door. The Guardians cover the run line and cash multiple prop angles, while the White Sox remain stuck in the mud offensively. The Milwaukee Brewers and New York Mets square off at Citi Field in a Friday night NL showdown that has significant betting angles, even if both teams sit on opposite ends of the momentum spectrum. The Mets, despite all their payroll and expectations, continue to hover below .500 with frustrating inconsistency, especially on the mound. Meanwhile, the Brewers are doing what they always do: win games behind elite pitching, solid bullpen arms, and opportunistic offense. Milwaukee sits atop the NL Central and owns one of the top road win percentages in the National League. Let's dive into the pitching matchup first. Freddie Peralta vs. Sean Manaea. This is where the early value shows up. Freddie Peralta enters this start with a 3.62 ERA, 1.07 WHIP, and a ridiculous 12.3 K/9 rate, third best among qualified NL starters. The 28-year-old righty has rediscovered his swing and miss stuff, especially against lefties, where he's holding hitters to just a .176 average. Over his last 5 starts, he's allowed just 8 earned runs across 31.2 innings with 43 strikeouts. That includes back-to-back double-digit K games in July. His fastball velocity is up a tick, and the slider is generating a 42% whiff rate, elite stuff in this matchup. Sean Manaea, on the other hand, has had a rollercoaster season. His 4.56 ERA doesn't tell the full story. He's been shelled in some starts and survived in others. Manaea's control continues to be a problem. He's walking 3.9 batters per 9 innings and allowing a .277 average to right-handed hitters. That's where Milwaukee can attack. Guys like William Contreras, Willie Adames, and Sal Frelick all hit left-handed pitching well, and with Christian Yelich heating up from the left side, this Brewers lineup matches up far better than the public is likely to expect. Offensively, Milwaukee is no juggernaut. They're averaging 4.26 runs per game, but they do their damage with timely hitting. The Brewers are top 6 in the league in clutch hitting ops with runners in scoring position, and they've been on a tear over the last 15 games, averaging 5.1 runs per game with a team OBP of .348 during that stretch. William Contreras is a hitting machine, slashing .288, .359, .460 with 18 homers and 72 RBIs. Add in Frelick's on-base skills and Adames's power against lefties, .271 average, .504 slugging versus southpaws, and this team has a legit edge early in this one. The Mets, meanwhile, are tough to figure out. They've underperformed based on their run differential all year. Pete Alonso remains the only consistent power threat, and even then, he's slashing just .234 with 28 home runs and a low OBP. Francisco Lindor has been streaky, hitting just .242, and Brandon Nimmo has cooled off significantly since the All-Star break. New York ranks 23rd in team batting average, 18th in ops, and 26th in runs scored over the past 30 days. That's not going to get it done against an elite arm like Peralta. From a betting standpoint, the board opened close to even, with the Brewers sitting around -115 on the moneyline and ticking up to -125 in some books. The value here is squarely on the Brewers ML -125 and the first 5 innings ML -120. Peralta has a massive edge over Manaea in both command and strikeout ability, and Milwaukee's bullpen is ranked top 5 in ERA, 3.27, since the beginning of July, compared to the Mets' 4.41, which is 20th in that same span. Look to isolate that early advantage with the 1H bet, and roll the full game for value on the stronger pen. Totals-wise, the number opened at 8.5 and is getting slight over interest. But that's a trap. This game has all the makings of a Brewers win in a lower-scoring game, especially if Peralta goes 6+ innings and hands it over to Devin Williams and Joel Payamps. The sharp side is the under 8.5 -110, and if you want added cushion, you can tease it up to under 9.5 in an alternate parlay leg. Now let's talk props and SGP angles. First play to lock in is Freddie Peralta over 7.5 kiloseconds plus 100. The Mets strike out a ton, over 9.3 times per game since July, and Peralta has hit this number in 5 of his last 7 starts. His stuff is electric, and this is the perfect opponent. Next, look to William Contreras over 1.5 total bases plus 110. He's riding a 10-game hit streak and hitting over .320 in that span with power to all fields. For a value home run sprinkle, look at Willie Adames to hit hour plus 500. His splits versus lefties are elite, and Manaea has given up 6 homers in his last 6 starts. Build a 4-leg SGP around these. Brewers ML, Freddie Peralta 6+ Ks, Contreras to record a hit, and under 9.5 alt total runs. That same game parlay will pay out in the plus 375 to plus 400 range and gives exposure to the biggest matchup edges without overextending risk. For full-day value hunters building a multi-leg parlay, tie in Brewers ML with Guardians ML, Orioles -1.5, and Twins ML for a sharp 4-leg combo that returns plus 725 or better, depending on the closing lines. Projected final score: Brewers 5, Mets 2. Freddie Peralta dominates the zone, racks up strikeouts, and shuts down a struggling Mets offense. Milwaukee gets 2 early runs off Manaea, adds 1 more off the bullpen, and leans on Devin Williams to lock it down in the 9th. The Texas Rangers travel to Citizens Bank Park to take on the Philadelphia Phillies in a high-profile interleague matchup that gives us a ton of sharp betting value heading into Friday's slate. This is a playoff-caliber pitching duel on paper, but when you start digging through the numbers, we see some clear paths to profit, especially in the prop and alternate line markets. On the bump for Texas is Nathan Eovaldi, while the Phillies counter with their ace Zach Wheeler. Both right-handers are known for postseason success, veteran command, and late-inning effectiveness, but in this spot, it's clear Wheeler holds the edge both in form and matchup. Eovaldi enters with a 3.91 ERA, a 1.23 WHIP, and has struggled lately with command and pitch efficiency. Over his last 4 starts, he's allowed 13 earned runs in 21 innings, including a rough outing versus the Rays where he didn't make it out of the 5th. Wheeler, on the other hand, is quietly in the middle of another Cy Young caliber campaign. He holds a 2.84 ERA with a 0.97 WHIP, and his 10.7 K9 is backed up by elite peripherals. His 2.56 FIP is among the best in baseball, and he's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in 7 of his last 8 starts. More importantly, he dominates at home. Wheeler owns a 2.05 ERA at Citizens Bank this season with a 6-1 record. His fastball velocity remains consistent deep into starts, and his curveball-sinker combination has produced a 31.6% called plus swinging strike rate, top 5 in MLB among starters with 100+ innings. Offensively, the Phillies bring the firepower. Over the past 30 days, Philly ranks 5th in runs scored, 4th in ops .781, and 3rd in home runs. Bryce Harper is fully healthy and slashing .298, .394, .520 with 21 bombs and 68 RBIs. Add in Alec Boehm's breakout, Trey Turner's speed, and Kyle Schwarber's OBP power threat, and this lineup gives Eovaldi a tough draw, especially in the first 2 trips through the order. Philadelphia is also lethal at home, averaging 5.1 runs per game at Citizens Bank Park and going 36-18 there on the season. Texas, by contrast, has struggled to find consistency since mid-June. Corey Seager's production has dipped slightly, and the team is still without all-star slugger Adolis Garcia, whose absence has dropped their runs per game average by almost a full point. They've averaged just 3.6 runs over their last 10 games and ranked 21st in slugging over the past month. Marcus Semien is hitting just .231 post-All-Star break, and the bottom of the lineup, especially the DH platoon, has been a black hole. From a betting angle, the line opened with Phillies -140 and has moved to -150 to -160 depending on the book. It's a little chalky but still has value when you consider the Wheeler versus Eovaldi matchup and the form of each offense. The sharper move is Phillies -0.5 first 5 innings -110. Wheeler has a 1.98 ERA in the first 5 innings this year, and the Phillies often jump on starters early. They've scored in the first 3 innings in 16 of their last 20 home games. If you're not comfortable with the juice on the full game ML, take a shot at the Phillies -1.5 run line +145. Eovaldi tends to fade in the 5th or 6th inning, and if Philly gets to the bullpen, there's potential for this to open up. Texas's bullpen ranks 24th in ERA, 4.68, since the All-Star break and has allowed a .279 opponent average, 3rd worst in baseball. As for totals, the number opened at 8 and has held steady. That makes sense with 2 name-brand starters on the mound, but the value here leans toward the over 4.5 team total for Philadelphia -105. They're simply a more complete offense right now, especially at home, and Eovaldi's recent regression points toward a few crooked numbers on the board. Now let's jump into props and SGP builds. First bet to lock in, Zach Wheeler over 6.5 strikeouts -120. He's hit this number in 6 of his last 7 starts, and Texas ranks in the bottom 10 in K rate versus right-handed pitching, 24.7%. Wheeler should go 6 to 7 innings and rack up 7 to 9 punchouts. Next target is Bryce Harper over 1.5 total bases +105. Harper is hitting .341 over his last 15 games and sees Eovaldi well, 6 FOR 15 with 2 homers lifetime. Harper's timing is excellent, and with Eovaldi's reduced velocity, Harper could get a hanger early in the count. For a long shot sprinkle, look to Kyle Schwarber to hit hour +425. Schwarber has reverse splits, hitting more homers off righties than lefties, and Eovaldi gives up a ton of fly balls. Schwarber has homered in 3 of his last 8 games and always brings long ball upside at home. Build a 4-leg SGP around Phillies moneyline, Wheeler 6+ Ks, Harper to record a hit, over 3.5 team total Phillies. That pays out around +300 to +350, depending on your book and boost availability. If you want to push for value, go with over 4.5 Phillies TT instead and Harper 2+ total bases, that gets it closer to +450. For full slate exposure, build a multi-game parlay. Phillies ML, Brewers 1H ML, Orioles -1.5, Braves over 4.5 team total. That combo lands in the +725 to +800 range, perfect for bettors looking for higher upside with sharp reads behind it. Final projection: Phillies 6, Rangers 3. Wheeler dominates early, the Phillies jump on Eovaldi, and the bullpen locks it down late behind Jose Alvarado and Jeff Hoffman. Texas keeps it close for a few innings but just doesn't have the offensive firepower right now to hang with this Phillies lineup, especially on the road. This matchup between the Cardinals and Cubs is one of the sneakiest value spots on the board for August 8th. You've got a divisional rivalry, 2 clubs that know each other inside and out, and a classic Wrigley Field game where the wind and pitching matchup create real betting traps. Don't just fall into the public perception on this one. We're digging in deep to uncover where the sharp money is headed, and how to build a parlay that hits. Let's start with the Cardinals. Street. Lewis comes into this game underwhelming on the season, hovering around the .500 mark, but they've been playing better baseball since the break. Over the last 15 games, they're 9-6, and the biggest factor has been the resurgence of their middle of the order. Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt may be aging, but when they're locked in, this lineup still has the pop to hang with anyone. Against lefties, the Cardinals have quietly been one of the better splits teams in baseball. They're hitting .276 with 8.789 ops versus southpaws since July 1st. That puts them in a strong spot here against Cubs starter Jordan Wicks. Wicks is a young lefty with command issues and below-average velocity. Through 15 starts, he owns a 4.78 ERA with a 1.42 whip, and the big red flag is his struggles against right-handed hitters. Righties are slashing .292, .358, .483 off him. The matchup against the Cardinals' righty-heavy order, featuring Arenado, Goldie, Contreras, and Tommy Edman, is a rough one. Wicks also struggles with control early. He's issued 9 first-inning walks this season and has allowed runs in the first frame in 4 of his last 6 starts. That opens up a live betting angle and a team total opportunity in the first 5 innings. On the flip side, the Cubs are a tough team to handicap right now. They're inconsistent. One day they'll drop 9 runs, the next they'll go cold with runners in scoring position and leave 12 men on base. Offensively, Cody Bellinger and Seiya Suzuki have been the only steady bats. Dansby Swanson and Christopher Morel have been boom or bust, and the lineup still lacks a consistent table setter at the top. Over their last 10 games, Chicago is just 4-6, averaging 3.2 runs per contest, and they've been even worse at home during that stretch, getting held to 2 runs or fewer in 4 of their last 6 at Wrigley. The Cardinals are countering with Miles Mikolas. Now, Mikolas isn't going to win a Cy Young anytime soon, but he's the type of guy who can eat innings, keep the ball on the ground, and limit damage. His road ERA is actually better than his home mark, sitting at 3.76 on the year. The Cubs haven't seen him well. Mikolas is 4-1 with a 2.91 ERA in his last 5 starts versus Chicago. He mixes speeds, pitches to contact, and lets his defense do the work, which is key at Wrigley when you can't afford fly ball mistakes on a windy day. Now let's talk props and value. First prop I'm eyeing is Arenado over 1.5 total bases plus 125. He's hitting .317 vs lefties this season, and Wicks is exactly the type of arm he crushes. Low velo, shaky command, nothing to back him off the plate. Pair that with Goldschmidt to record a hit -165 as your safe floor leg. Goldie has hit in 11 of his last 14 versus the Cubs, and Wicks has been torched by veteran righties all year. On the strikeout side, Jordan Wicks under 4.5 kiloseconds -115 is one of my favorite plays. The Cardinals are bottom 5 in MLB in strikeout rate versus LHP, and Wicks hasn't hit 5 kiloseconds in 4 of his last 5 starts. He nibbles too much, gets deep into counts, and walks too many, not a recipe for racking up strikeouts. For Mikolas, I'm not touching the strikeout line. His K rate is low, and the Cubs are middle of the pack versus RHP, not enough edge there either way. Let's go to the team totals. Cardinals over 2.5 runs in the first 5 innings -110 is the sneaky sharp play. We're fading Wicks early, backing the Cardinals' hot bats against lefties, and taking advantage of a weak Cubs bullpen that often doesn't get involved until the 6th. Full game team total over 4.5 plus 100 is in play, but the real value is isolating the F5 and stacking that into a same-game parlay. Speaking of SGPs, here's a 4-leg same-game parlay that has hit potential and a payout north of plus 725. Cardinals ML, Arenado over 1.5 TBs. Goldschmidt to record a hit. Wicks under 4.5 kiloseconds. This hits multiple angles, fading a poor starter, riding 2 veteran bats in a strong platoon edge, and trusting the Cardinals' recent form. Want to get a little bolder? Toss in Cardinals first 5 -0.5 plus 115, or Cardinals to score first -120 for alternate SGP angles. The early edge is where they've built momentum in recent games. Final score projection. Cardinals 5, Cubs 3. Street. Lewis gets to Wicks early, cashes in with power from the middle of the order, and Michaelis does just enough to keep the Cubs at bay for 6 innings before handing it to a stabilized bullpen. Fade the Cubs' inconsistency, and trust the sharper edges on the Cardinals' side. Best bets recap. Cardinals ML -115. Cardinals over 2.5 runs F5 -110. Wicks under 4.5 kiloseconds -115. Arenado over 1.5 TBs +125. Goldschmidt hit -165. SGP. Cards ML plus Arenado TBs plus Goldie hit plus Wicks UKs +725. This isn't a game you throw into a 10-leg parlay and forget. This is a spot where you isolate sharp early angles, ride the matchup data, and build a high-leverage SGP for max value. The Diamondbacks head to Coors Field to face the Rockies in what looks like an offensive explosion waiting to happen. Anytime you're handicapping a game at elevation, you need to approach it differently. This isn't a normal ballpark. Balls fly here, pitchers lose movement on their breaking stuff, outfielders misread trajectories, and bullpen depth gets exposed. That's why we're not just looking at the total, we're breaking down specific matchups that give us a real edge. Starting with Arizona, this team has been quietly surging offensively. Over the last 12 games, they're averaging 6.1 runs per game, and their right-handed bats have crushed lefties. Since July 1st, the D-backs are hitting .292 with a .502 slugging against southpaws, and that's relevant because the Rockies are sending out lefty Kyle Freeland, who's been a disaster at Coors Field all season. Freeland comes into this game with a 6.89 ERA overall and an absolutely brutal 8.24 ERA in home starts. His whip at home, 1.69. He's allowing a .346 opponent batting average in Denver, and the advanced metrics are even worse. Expected ERA sits at 6.72, and his xWOBA allowed is in the bottom 5% of MLB. The reason? He doesn't miss bats. Freeland has a strikeout rate of just 13.1%, and he's allowing a 44.8% hard hit rate. Arizona's lineup is built to punish pitchers like this, aggressive, contact-driven, with top-end speed and situational hitting. Kettle Marte is the engine. He's hitting .304 vs lefties with a .934 ops and 15 extra base hits in just 98 at-bats against them this season. Right behind him, Christian Walker and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. have combined for 19 hours and a .560 slugging versus southpaws in 2025. These aren't streaky bats, they're matchup crushers. Add in Corbin Carroll's speed, 25 SB, and Jake McCarthy's OBP upside, and you've got a top 6 that should cause constant pressure for Freeland. Now let's talk about Arizona's starter, Slade Cecconi. This is where things get trickier. Cecconi has shown flashes of promise, especially in road starts, but his numbers aren't elite. On the year, he owns a 4.53 ERA with a 1.32 whip. But here's the key. He's more of a flyball pitcher, which is dangerous at Coors Field. That said, he's done well limiting walks and barrels, just a 6.2% walk rate and 31.7% hard contact rate. He's not a shutdown guy, but compared to Freeland, he's a clear upgrade. The Rockies lineup is young and unpredictable. Ryan McMahon is their best bat by a mile. He's slashing .282, .358, .502 with 22 hours and has been red hot since the All-Star break. Beyond that, it's a mix of unproven hitters. Brenton Doyle has speed and gap power, but high swing and miss rates. Elehuris Montero can flash exit velocity, but he's streaky. This team ranks 29th in runs per game, 3.92, and dead last in OBP, .298, even with the Coors Field bump. Against Cecconi, there's upside, but not enough to bet them outright. Now for the numbers that matter. First, the total. This game opened with a total of 11.5 and was quickly bet to 12. That's a Coors Field total. High, but still beatable. With both pitchers vulnerable and two bullpens ranked in the bottom 10 in ERA, this is a spot where you could see 14 to 15 total runs. For props, we're starting with Kettle Mart over 1.5 total bases minus 110. He's been cashing this in 65% of games versus lefties this season. Follow that with Christian Walker to hit our plus 340. He has 3 homers off Freeland in just 12 abs lifetime and 8.710 SLG versus lefties this season. Pitching props are also live. Freeland's under 3.5 kiloseconds minus 120 is a must-play. The D-backs strike out less than any team in the NL versus LHP, and Freeland has hit this number just once in his last 7 starts. For Cecconi, you might consider over 4.5 kiloseconds plus 105. It's a lean, but the Rockies strike out 9.2 times per game at home, and Cecconi has reached 5 kiloseconds in 4 of his last 5 starts. Let's go to the best bets. Diamondbacks team total over 6.5 minus 105. Diamondbacks minus 1.5 plus 115. Freeland under 3.5 kiloseconds minus 120. Mart over 1.5 TBs minus 110. Walker to hit our plus 340. The value is clearly on the Arizona side, and the run line is a spot where you can lean into their offensive ceiling without worrying about a tight bullpen battle. Freeland doesn't pitch deep into games, and once the Rockies turn it over to their bullpen, the floodgates tend to open. Colorado's bullpen ERA at home is 5.74, worst in the league by a full run. Let's build the same game parlay. SGP plus 725. Diamondbacks ML. Mart 2 plus total bases. Freeland under 3.5 kiloseconds. Christian Walker to record a hit. If you want to push for more juice, take Walker HR instead of hit for a payout closer to plus 1300. Another alt angle. D-backs over 3.5 runs F5 minus 115. This gets you Freeland-specific exposure and avoids late-game variance. Final score projection. Diamondbacks 9, Rockies 5. Arizona jumps on Freeland early, tacks on runs through the middle innings, and holds off a mini rally from Colorado late. The over is a lean, but Arizona's team total is the sharper side. This is a great standalone game for prop stacking and correlated parlays. The splits are clear, the pitching matchup favors the D-backs heavily, and the park conditions only boost their edge. If you're building your daily betting card, this is a top 3 game to circle. It's not about taking every Coors Field over, it's about knowing which teams can exploit the elevation, and which pitchers crumble under it. The Padres and Red Sox square off at Fenway Park in what sets up to be one of the more compelling interleague matchups on the August 9th slate. Boston comes in sitting near the top of the AL East, while San Diego continues to push for a wild card spot in the loaded National League. This matchup is all about momentum, starting pitching matchups, and whether or not San Diego's stars can stay hot in a tough road environment. The Padres have been a Jekyll and Hyde type of squad, dominant at times but inconsistent on the road. Boston has taken care of business at home, and they've been lethal against right-handed pitching this year. The market has this line close to a pick'em, and that opens up several betting angles if you're looking at either side or total. San Diego is likely sending Dylan Cease to the mound. He's posted a 3.67 ERA over 23 starts with 139 strikeouts in 129 innings. His K rate remains high, but he's also struggled at times with command, walking nearly 3.5 batters per 9. The problem for Cease here is Fenway. The ball flies in the summer, and Boston's offense punishes fastballs up in the zone, which is Cease's bread and butter. The Red Sox are averaging 5.1 runs per game at home, and they've mashed righties with a team ops of .768 against them. Rafael Devers and Jarren Duran are both heating up at the plate. Devers has slugged .545 since the All-Star break, while Duran is hitting .302 over his last 30 games with 10 extra base hits. The Red Sox counter with Brian Bello. The young righty has shown flashes of dominance but has also been vulnerable to power-hitting teams. He comes into this matchup with a 4.23 ERA and a 1.29 WHIP. His sinker-heavy approach has worked well when he keeps the ball down, but his home run rate is up this year. That's a concern against a Padres lineup that features big bats like Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and the red-hot Jake Cronenworth, who's batting .312 with a .903 OPS since July 1st. The Padres have also been an elite team when they jump on pitchers early. They're 18-4 in games where they score in the first 2 innings. If Bello can't locate early, this could turn into a bullpen-heavy game, and that's where San Diego might have a slight edge. The bullpens are going to be critical late. Boston has had its struggles, ranking in the bottom third of the league in bullpen era since mid-June. Kenley Jansen has been erratic, and the middle relief options like Greg Weissert and Justin Slayton have been inconsistent. The Padres, meanwhile, have quietly built a solid bullpen core. Robert Suarez is among the best setup men in baseball, and Jeremiah Estrada has been electric since getting more late-inning work. San Diego's bullpen holds opponents to just a .213 batting average over the past 30 days and has posted a WHIP of 1.09 in that span. From a betting perspective, this game opens up strong single-game parlay (SGP) potential. We're starting our core with over 8.5 total runs. Both pitchers are vulnerable to home run balls, and both lineups are in strong offensive form. Then we're adding Rafael Devers to record a hit, as he's hit safely in 15 of his last 18 games and absolutely crushes four-seamers and sliders, Cease's top 2 pitches. Next, lock in Fernando Tatis Jr. 1+ total base. Tatis is slashing .298, .378, .516 on the road, and his hard hit rate is top 10% in the league. To round it off, we'll go with Robert Suarez to record a save, if you're looking to ladder up a +800 SGP. In tighter games, the Padres have leaned on Suarez in the 9th, and if they're leading by 1 to 3 runs late, this leg gives us that closing value. Looking at props, Jake Cronenworth over 1.5 total bases is a sneaky strong play at plus money. He's slugging .541 since the All-Star break and matches up well against Bello's sinker-slider combo. For Boston, consider Jarren Duran over 0.5 stolen bases at plus 500 or better. Duran has 25 steals on the year, and Padres catcher Kyle Higashioka has allowed 14 swipes in his last 20 starts behind the plate. The Red Sox could push the envelope on the base paths if this game stays close. On the pitching side, Cease over 7.5 strikeouts might feel aggressive, but the Red Sox do whiff at the top of the zone, and Cease is still sitting top 15 in K rate. But balance that with the fact that he's only hit that mark in 2 of his last 6 starts, so it's a high-risk, high-reward leg if you include it in a prop ladder. If you're building a ladder parlay, consider a 3-leg plus 1-2-0-0 ticket starting with Devers to hit a home run, Cronenworth 2+ hits, and Padres moneyline -1.5. The logic here is all about Boston's vulnerability against right-handed sluggers and Bello's recent struggles with command. This is also a good live betting spot. If Bello gives up runs early, and the Sox bullpen has to come in by the 5th, the Padres can pour it on late. Conversely, if Cease starts missing spots and the Red Sox jump out to a quick lead, look at Boston live over team total or even a pivot to Red Sox -1.5 live if you missed the opening line. For those looking to bet the total, the best angle here is a first 5 over 4.5. Both starters are beatable, and both teams are in the top half of MLB in first 5-inning scoring. That reduces some of the bullpen risk and targets the weakest part of each team's staff. The weather should also be a factor. If the forecast holds and the wind is blowing out at Fenway, we could see 2 to 3 home runs by the 4th inning. Keep an eye on line movement and steam, especially if the public comes in heavy on the over. Final lean here is Padres 6, Red Sox 4. The Padres' offense is just a little more balanced right now, their bullpen is in better shape, and if Cease can get through 5 with only 1 or 2 runs allowed, San Diego is in the driver's seat. There's value on both sides of the market, but in terms of overall edge and betting setup, the Padres' moneyline and the full game over are both playable at current numbers. Use this game to anchor your Friday card and build around props that lean into early offense and power hitting potential. The Dodgers and Blue Jays clash in a primetime interleague showdown north of the border, with Rogers Center setting the stage for one of the most high-powered matchups on the board for August 9th. On one side, you've got a loaded Dodgers squad fighting for the top seed in the National League. On the other, the Blue Jays trying to claw their way into a wild card spot in the AL and defend their home turf. This is a battle of contrasting strengths. Law's relentless offensive depth against Toronto's elite defensive metrics and top-end starting pitching. Both lineups are dangerous, both pens have had hot and cold stretches, and both teams are capable of hanging a crooked number in any inning. And the books know it. The total is set at a sharp 9.0, and the line is tight, hovering around Dodgers minus 120 on the money line depending on the early action. The Dodgers will send Gavin Stone to the mound. Stone has quietly been a stabilizing force in the rotation, posting a 3.54 ERA with a 1.18 WHIP across 22 starts. He's not a big strikeout guy, just 94 kiloseconds in 119.2 innings, but he gets weak contact and limits the long ball, holding opposing hitters to a .238 average and just 11 home runs on the season. The issue is that his road splits are slightly worse, with a 4.22 ERA and .261 opponent batting average. In away games, Rogers Center isn't a pitcher's park, and the Jays can punish mistakes. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette are both swinging it well lately, with Guerrero slugging .533 over the past 15 games and Bichette posting a .321 OBP in that stretch. The key for Stone will be keeping the ball on the ground. When he gets under 40% ground ball rate, his ERA jumps by over a run and a half. Toronto counters with Jose Berríos, who's been a rock for them this year. Berríos owns a 3.31 ERA and a 1.11 WHIP over 24 starts, and his home splits have been dominant, a 2.74 ERA at Rogers Center, with a 6-1 record and 63 strikeouts in 62 innings. Berríos relies on fastball command early and then mixes in a sharp curveball and changeup to keep hitters off balance. But here's the catch. The Dodgers are the best curveball hitting team in baseball. They're slugging .468 against breaking balls and they don't chase much, with one of the lowest swing and miss rates in the league. If Berríos gets predictable with his pitch sequencing, guys like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Will Smith will make him pay. The Dodgers have scored 6 or more runs in 12 of their last 17 games and led MLB in team ops against right-handed pitching at .810. Bullpen comparison leans slightly toward LA. The Dodgers have a team bullpen ERA of 3.76 and have been trending in the right direction since the All-Star break. Evan Phillips has locked down the closer role, while Ryan Brazier and Daniel Hudson provide strong middle relief. Toronto's bullpen has a lower ERA at 3.62 overall, but they've struggled in high-leverage spots. Jordan Romano is back, but his velocity is down, and his WHIP is over 1.30 in save situations. Eric Swanson and Yimi Garcia are solid options, but they've combined for 6 blown saves since June. In a game this tight, late-inning execution becomes critical, and the Dodgers' ability to draw walks and manufacture base runners could tilt this in their favor. From a betting standpoint, this is a strong candidate for same-game parlay builds. Start with over 8.5 total runs, as both offenses are in rhythm and both starters, while capable, can be exposed by power-heavy, disciplined lineups. Add Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to record a hit. He's hit safely in 13 of his last 15 games and is hitting .309 against right-handers. Next, toss in Freddie Freeman over 1.5 total bases. He's slugging .597 against righties and is red-hot with 8 extra base hits in his last 10 games. To finish the core, go with over 0.5 home runs in first 5 innings. These teams love to start fast, and Berríos has allowed 7 first-inning runs in his last 5 starts. That 4-leg SGP comes in around plus 650 and gives you exposure to both team offenses while still capitalizing on starter volatility. Looking deeper at individual props, Bo Bichette over 1.5 total bases offers sneaky value. He's hitting .315 against changeups this year and could feast if Stone doesn't bury that pitch effectively. For the Dodgers, Will Smith to hit a home run at +500 is worth a sprinkle. Smith's HR rate jumps against pitchers with sub-94 miles per hour fastballs, and Berríos averages around 93.4. On the pitching side, Berríos under 5.5 strikeouts is in play. The Dodgers strike out just 7.4 times per game, second lowest in the majors, and Berríos has failed to clear that number in 4 of his last 6 starts against playoff-caliber opponents. For a ladder parlay, try this 3-leg build at +1300 odds. Mookie Betts 2+ hits, Bo Bichette 2+ total bases, and Dodgers team total over 4.5. It's an aggressive stack that leverages the strength of Law's top of the lineup and Bichette's consistency at home. You can also hedge it with a lighter 2-leg play, Freddie Freeman to record a hit plus Dodgers moneyline, which still brings in plus money without heavy variance. Live betting wise, watch how Gavin Stone navigates the first time through the Jays order. If he's sharp early and generating ground balls, look for Dodgers live -1.5 after 3 innings. Conversely, if Berríos is showing poor command, you might catch Dodgers team total over 5.5 at value before the 5th inning. With both teams capable of explosive innings, this is also a candidate for live over 11.5 if the score is tied around the 4th or 5th inning. Final lean here. Dodgers 7, Blue Jays 5. LA has the more complete lineup, a deeper bullpen, and their core hitters are dialed in at the right time. The Blue Jays will keep it competitive, especially with Berríos on the mound at home, but the margin for error against a team like the Dodgers is razor thin. Bet the over with confidence, build your SGPs around offensive props, and keep an eye on live totals if this one starts slow. The series finale between the Mariners and Rays at Tropicana Field wraps up what's been a razor-tight AL matchup all week. You've got the Rays fighting to stay relevant in the wild card picture and the Mariners battling to keep pace in the AL West with the Rangers and Astros. This game is tight in the market. Oddsmakers opened it at near pick'em territory, with slight juice leaning toward Tampa Bay at home. The total sits at 7.5 with sharp action already hitting both sides depending on the confirmed pitching matchup. Tampa Bay is projected to send right-hander Zach Eflin to the hill, and while he hasn't been quite as dominant this year compared to 2023, he's still been a dependable rotation arm. Through 21 starts, Eflin has a 4.07 ERA with a 1.17 whip, 118 strikeouts, and just 20 walks in 124.1 innings. His biggest weapon has been his elite command. He's in the 95th percentile in walk rate and the 88th percentile in chase rate. However, Eflin's biggest issue this year has been hard contact. Opponents are hitting .281 against him when he misses low and in, and his home splits haven't been great either, with a 4.38 ERA at Tropicana Field. Seattle counters with Bryce Miller, who brings a high-octane fastball and tons of upside but also a volatile profile. Miller enters with a 3.91 ERA, a 1.23 whip, and 122 kiloseconds in 118.2 innings. He's been especially sharp in his last 5 starts, pitching to a 2.94 ERA while holding opponents to a .212 average. His fastball has late life, averaging 96.1 miles per hour, and he's generating a 28.7% whiff rate when elevating it. But the real edge for Miller is matchup-based. The Rays are just 24th in the league in ops against fastballs over 95 miles per hour, slugging just .378 in those matchups. That's a red flag when facing a pitcher like Miller who leans heavily on the heat. One big thing to watch: Tampa's lineup is still struggling to find consistency. Yandy Diaz continues to be the most reliable bat in the order, hitting .294 with a .375 OBP, but his power numbers have dipped a bit. Randy Arozarena's been hot and cold and Brandon Lowe's strikeout rate is hovering near 30% over the last 30 days. They've been overly reliant on late-inning rallies and solo home runs to scrape together offense, which doesn't translate well when facing top-end starters who pound the zone early. The Rays average just 2.1 runs through the first 5 innings over their last 15 games, ranking bottom 5 in MLB in that span. Seattle's offense isn't much better from a consistency standpoint, but they've shown a higher ceiling recently. Julio Rodriguez has caught fire in the second half, posting a .915 OPS over the past month with 7 hours and 6 steals. Cal Raleigh continues to rake from the left side, slugging .492 with 18 hours on the year, and Ty France is finally waking up after a sluggish first half. Seattle's team ops is up nearly 40 points since the All-Star break, and they're one of the few offenses that hasn't cratered in high-leverage road situations. Their 3.94 runs per game on the road ranks 10th in MLB, not elite, but respectable enough to lean into if the matchup supports it. From a prop and betting perspective, this is a strong under 4.5 first 5 innings runs candidate. Eflin's control paired with Miller's velocity should keep both lineups off balance early, and both teams rank bottom 10 in first 5 scoring over the last 3 weeks. If you want aggressive with props, start your same-game parlay with Julio Rodriguez to record a hit. He's hitting .317 against righties and .368 on the road since mid-July. Add Zach Eflin under 1.5 walks allowed. He's cleared that number just once in his last 11 starts. Pair that with under 8.5 alternate game total and you're looking at a strong core SGP at plus 425 or better depending on your book. Looking at strikeout props, Bryce Miller over 5.5 strikeouts is playable. He's hit that number in 8 of his last 10 starts, and the Rays have the 6th highest K rate in the league against right-handed pitching at 24.2%. You can also isolate Randy Arozarena to strike out at least once, as he's gone down swinging in 19 of his last 21 games. For a deeper cut, Cal Raleigh to hit a home run at plus 475 is worth a sprinkle. He's got pull-side power, and Eflin has given up 7 homers to left-handed hitters this season alone. A tighter 2-leg parlay angle, Mariners moneyline plus Bryce Miller 6+ strikeouts, priced around plus 240. If Miller keeps the ball in the zone and gets early swings, the Rays don't have enough power threats to flip momentum unless they capitalize on soft contact. Seattle's bullpen, anchored by Andres Munoz and Ryan Stanek, has a 2.91 ERA since July 1st, better than Tampa's pen in that stretch, and has converted 11 of its last 13 save opportunities. One live betting spot to keep in mind: if the Mariners score first and Miller looks sharp, the Rays' chances of a comeback drop dramatically. Tampa is just 8-34 when trailing after 5 innings. You can target live Mariners minus 1.5 if they jump out early. Conversely, if the game is tied or scoreless through 6, lean toward live under 6.5 and play a bullpen battle to the finish. Both managers have quick hooks and solid middle relief, so late scoring should be limited unless there's a defensive miscue. Final prediction: Mariners 4, Rays 2. Miller's fastball proves to be the difference, and the Mariners ride strong starting pitching and timely hitting to get the road win. This is a spot where Seattle has the pitching edge, the sharper lineup right now, and the better bullpen in recent form. Look for value on the F5 under, lean toward Seattle on the ML, and stack your props around Miller strikeouts and Julio to record a hit. So if you live and breathe sports like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat. Join the Beyond the Box Score squad, where we don't just watch the game, we understand it. Let's build the most informed, fearless, and fired-up sports community on YouTube. Don't just be a fan, be a student of the game. New videos every week, previews, predictions, breakdowns, betting angles, and more. Let's go beyond the highlights and beyond the box score.